2030.
2030.
Saudi Arabia, the public investment fund.
It's a
There's
big
a lot of
vision.
excitement
This
around
transformational
specifically.
change. Every aspect of the kingdom, economic, social, cultural, religious.
The 2030.
2030.
The 2030.
This is the 2030.
Yalla, 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 yalla.
This is the 2030, episode 48. Hello, Dr. Hanaa. Nice to see you, as always. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. We have a special episode this week, a slightly modified format. We will be speaking very shortly with Suliman Almazroua, who is CEO of the National Industrial Development and Logistics Program, NIDLP, one of the most critical and impactful of Saudi Arabia's vision realization programs, VRPs. These are the programs that are tasked with implementing the vision. And we conducted this interview with Suliman in person. So if you're a normal listener, you can watch that in-person interview on our YouTube channel. But this was just such a cool conversation. And this was the product of months of discussions with NIDLP. And he doesn't do a lot of interviews, Suliman does, but he's great. And what he's doing with NIDLP is amazing. So really excited for this, Hanaa.
Yeah, I mean, I found the whole experience of doing an in-person interview very different from our normal remote podcasting. And it was just a different energy. And it was really great. So I do see why people like to do in-person podcasts. It's harder for us that, we decided to launch a podcast even if we don't live in the same place. However, I think that it's great when we do have the opportunity to do that. And Suliman had so much to offer in terms of great stories and insights. The program is complicated when you think about it, but then he breaks it down in a beautiful way. So I'm really excited for our listeners to really understand what the program, what NIDLP does, and how it is really changing the way operations are basically, being carried out within those industries and the interrelationship between them. I think it was so good.
Yeah,
good.
and I think what's cool about what we're doing is that we're able to do it very well and effectively. 27,600 subscribers on YouTube. I checked a couple days ago, so I don't know where it is now, but it's cool to build something like this remotely because it's really our only option. We discovered that we can make something that people like, a show that people seem to value in some way, in whatever form that they're getting it in. But we also realize that in-person interviews are going to be something that we want to do in the future. Suliman and his team, total professionals, and we're so easy to work with on this. And what we loved about doing it this way is we knew that we could really get answers to the questions that we wanted to get in person, in a way that you can just get when you have dinner with somebody versus when you have something on Zoom. Enjoy. Suliman Almazroua, CEO of the National Industrial Development and Logistics Program, NIDLP, one of the most critical and impactful of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 VRPs, Vision Realization Programs. It launched in 2019, the NIDLP is transforming the kingdom into a leading global player in energy, mining, logistics, and other industrial sectors. Suliman, I would say welcome to the 2030, but you are in fact hosting us here at NIDLP HQ, so thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you for having me.
We are really looking forward to it. And so we hear a lot about NIDLP and its role in Vision 2030. But before we get into that, I would love for us to start with asking you a little bit about your background and how you found yourself here.
I grew up in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia. Graduated from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals with an engineering degree, industrial engineering. Then I joined Saudi Aramco. Spent more than 16 years on Saudi Aramco, mostly in the technology areas. I worked in operations, projects, strategy. I worked in national and international offices. I worked in corporate subsidiaries, JVs, and startups. So it has been very rewarding for knowledge for me. And I think not only me, many of my generation and the generation before me and after me been benefiting from this great company. Then Vision 2030 was announced by His Royal Highness Crown Prince. Then I was approached to join what they called the delivery unit, which was responsible of the national transformation at that time. And it was a great privilege just to be part of such inspiring purpose. So I joined, and then 2 years in a row, I moved to NIDLP. And now for 6 years, I've been the CEO of NIDLP.
NIDLP's the mandate is so big. Can you give us an overview of what you're doing with NIDLP, why it's important, the impact that you're having?
So Vision 2030 aimed to reduce our dependency on oil. That's been written on the Vision Charter, and it has been announced by His Royal Highness at the beginning of Vision 2030. NIDLP, the National Industrial Development and Logistics Program, responsible to transform the kingdom to an industrial powerhouse and a global logistic hub. And of course, amplify the value of our natural resources, whether it's oil and gas or minerals. And through the integration of these four, we can have 1 + 1 is 3 and 4 and 5. And we will be having this engine of economy diversification. What we did is we put together the plan with all the entities responsible of these sectors for the Vision 2030 to achieve its targets, with more than 283 initiatives in these four sectors, using the power of our youth and young generations of technology-savvy people, and also with the purchase power of our local contents. We find that we have the chance to do a leapfrog. So that's the NIDLP in a nutshell. So far, we achieved great results, and some of them reached to what we call it the irreversible change. Now let me explain that. When you do any transformation, there is a point that there is no way for you to go back. And that's what we consider irreversible change, where it's becoming systemized within the ecosystem and you need to move to the next era of transformation, not worry about that move. Let me give you an example in the local content. Our procurement system used to be agnostic to what materials you use. And with the local content authority, we add a policy that percentage of value add if you use Saudi products. And with the program of Made in Saudi, now it's become only natural that every company that win a procurement within the government of Saudi must have some local content as part of that. And that a queue of offtake to our manufacturing facilities. So that increase our manufacturing facilities. And from that, you can see that how our pharmaceutical factories has increased and our offtake from them has increased. And that's happening in every other sector. So we know now we reached to the irreversible change when it comes to local content and procurement system of Saudi Arabia to allow our manufacturing to have this head start and jump start to go exports. And we have seen most of these items actually increased on the export side too. And we have the Exim Bank that it's one of NIDLP initiative that was created to create a bank that help our products to reach abroad. And now we have seen that how much increase from pharmaceuticals, machinery equipment, food processing, and others that was not there before Vision 2030 and before this program. So that's one example how we reach to irreversible change when it comes to local content support for our manufacturing facilities. Another example would be logistics. So before Vision 2030, you will not hear a government agency that has logistics as part of their mandate. With Vision 2030 now, Ministry of Transport become Ministry of Transport and Logistics. We have deputyship for logistics. We have Supreme Committee led by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince for logistics. So we have a license for a company who want to do 3PL logistics. Now we have more than 1,000 of them. Logistics centers now, more than 59 that we are building. These are systems that already put in place, that we know that we now have logistics as part of our economic development, and that's irreversible change now.
Fantastic. I'd actually really like to pick up on the logistics point. I mean, I think that in the past, maybe a lot of industries would rely very heavily on government. And now most companies are really mandated to kind of set their own strategic objectives. They need to rely on themselves. And some of what you're describing is something that we are seeing. And you've just given us some examples of what's happening within that space. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you're really disrupting the logistics ecosystem globally and what that looks like.
From Saudi perspective first, we used to serve ourselves very well. So an example of that, if you want to buy an Apple product, it will come on time if you online request it, and it will come on time and with the right pricing without any inflating pricing on the... But it will be coming from the Europe center or US center. They call the distribution centers. We decided to move from serving ourselves to actually serving ourselves and the region and the world. So we opened what we call the ILBZ, Integrated Logistics Zone, in King Khalid airports. And in that logistics zone, we put significant change in our regulations to allow international distribution centers to come and use Saudi as a base for them to serve Saudi and to serve the international community from there. And now Apple, the distribution center, is now in Riyadh, and it's serving at least 6 billion riyal a year, not Saudi, the Gulf and the region behind it. So becoming now a place not to serve ourselves only, but to serve the region with us. And that's applicable to iHerb, other products that coming now in the same logistics zone. You can take that to the port. You can take that to other locations where we spot logistics zone that can benefit not only Saudi but the region, and we can from there becoming a regional zone and a global logistic hub. So that's from Saudi perspective. So globally, the disruption that's happening on the supply chain, even though we don't like it, but it's become a competitive advantage for Saudi. Being close to 3 continents from Saudi, having the right raw materials, the right, whether from minerals or from composites, also having the right infrastructure and the right digital infrastructure, the energy resources that reliable and competitive give us an advantage for any manufacturing facilities or logistics facilities to choose Saudi to be their bases. And that's to us a great advantage that we are using now to support our position as an industrial powerhouse and global logistic hub.
I want to ask you next a little bit about ecosystems. Everything with NIDLP is really generating an ecosystem, and there's a lot that goes into that. It's not just the seed or the soil or the landscape and the sun. It's all of it together. Can you tell us about ecosystem development in Saudi Arabia?
I would love to say it's tough, but it's actually not. The transformation coming from the top, and we have an inspiring leader who is driving the change day by day, and this is His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. So that made my job much, much easier than what you think. And also that our ecosystem in the government, we have great ministers and they all share the same common vision that His Royal Highness put together. And that to me made my job easy. It's moved from just accountability to ownership. It's moved from mandate-oriented to objective-oriented. It's moved from do it myself to let's do it together. That's that type of ecosystem that was put together. It's helped me a lot to navigate and be part of that change in an easier way. Also beautiful about Vision 2030, that's not only a government initiative. It's a comprehensive. It's open for private sector, non-profit organizations, international partners, to anyone who would like to participate. And they would participate not because of Saudi would like that, because it's actually contribute to the international community. We contribute to the resilience of the global supply chain. We contribute to securing more minerals for renewable energy, electrifications, and what have you. we contribute on human betterment when it comes to healthcare and others. So if you work with Saudi to achieve Vision 2030, you actually contributing to the international community.
I actually would like to pick up on kind of what's happening with AI within the kingdom, and I think it's kind of critical to the implementation of the strategic objectives. So we're talking a little bit about how everybody's part of it, and it's, we all have a stake in kind of moving forward, not only locally but also globally. But when you talk about AI, you're removing kind of almost the human element out of this, right? And our reliance on technology in order to deliver that. And that makes a lot of people really uncomfortable. So I'd really like to hear kind of what your take is on the role of AI within this transformation and how humans can see their position within that transformation.
I've been in technology for the past 18 years of my life. So I know how technology create jobs, not remove jobs. Part of my career, I used to work on a JV with the hospital. Part of that hospital transformed to an automated processes, and it was maybe the largest in the Middle East at that time. And our IT staff used to be 7 people, and when I left, it was more than 120. So more than 120 Saudi engineers were hired to add this mass automation that's happening, instead of doing manual stuff with low skilled labors. And that's, to me, what AI will do to us. It's just will open better jobs and more critical jobs that we need, that we should not have done that manually before. As far as NIDLP specifically, we believe that we have now an isolated island. We have the smart factory, we have the smart city, we have the smart mine, we have the smart grid, we have the smart logistics, but they are an isolated island. If we connect them together, you will have the power of the data. You can have more scenario planning to avoid any risk on the supply chain. You will have more access to data to give you more knowledge in how to move into different markets and securing better products and services for the kingdom and for the world.
That's great news, because we were worried about AI taking over this podcast and then we wouldn't have a podcasting job.
That's still a risk.
Still a risk, maybe. Yeah. AI can't tell jokes like I can, but I want to ask you, we're pivoting all over the place here because you're doing so much with this organization. And I want to ask you a little bit about the mining sector. People are talking about this as sort of an untapped potential for Saudi Arabia. For the longest time, as you mentioned, oil was really the backbone of the economy, but there are many ways in which minerals and mining can unleash a whole new market. And you're seeing international foreign interest in investing in this sector. And, NIDLP is in charge of sort of developing the industry around mining. Can you tell us about the status of the mining sector and speak to some of the opportunities that are here in Saudi Arabia?
So in mining, with Vision 2030, one of the NIDLP initiatives is the largest geological survey in the Middle East, if it's not in the world, that we kicked off. And we finished now 50% of that project. And if you see the whole Saudi, if you look at it from the middle, the right side is all oil and gas. And the left side is the Arabian Shield. It's full of minerals and specifically critical minerals. So the untapped minerals that we discovered now with 50% of the job is doubled from 5 trillion to 9.4 trillion real. And that's great news. And more great news, that is the amount of commercial critical minerals that we found that it wasn't known to us before. And these are needed for energy transition, for electrifications and other aspects. So we are so happy that we can contribute to the global supply chain with these minerals. We are working with our partners to extract them and make them processed to the right level to help our manufacturing activities and international community too. We have the FMF, the Future Mineral Forum. It's a great forum that now we had the 4th edition, and each time becoming the mining forum where governments, academy, startups, and business leaders come together and discuss the future of mining on that forum. So we are very happy on that. And speaking of partnership, we signed with a new lab, which is one of the innovative platforms in New York, to help us with my innovation mining studio. It's a studio that we are calling for founders around the world to help us on solving some of the mining challenges that we face and we think the international facing also. This type of challenge-based innovation is the new trend of how to drive innovation faster to commercialization, and New Lab is one of the unique platforms that can do that. And so we partner with them, and to be honest, innovation is a key to achieve Vision 2030, and we're trying to amplify this kind of relations we have with in France, Paris, Station F and HEC as a partner. We have now in Singapore, we just signed with BCA Venture for logistics, and many to come, to make sure that we have Riyadh as an innovation hub, and building a bridge with different countries to exchange knowledge, share with them the challenges, and start building this community of different founders solving global challenges.
I love that you say that. And actually, sorry, did you want to say something? Because I think of Riyadh as a place full of talent, right? It's attracting global talent and these founders that you're talking about. But when they get here, they're also finding talent. I think there's this incredible kind of energy in young people. And I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about how you think of kind of Saudi talent and the mix between kind of attracting global talent and what happens when you get that mix right within Riyadh.
So from personal perspective, I never bet on Saudi talent, and I failed. So it's been my success factor all over my career. And I remember when we started the technology project that I mentioned on John Hopkins. It used to be many consultants from around the world, and it was very expensive to the project to move with that base. So we had to deploy many Saudis as fast as we can. And I remember going to one of the job fairs, and I remember that that time I may have interviewed more than 800 candidates in that few days, and we found that the 80 Saudis that will be able to fill the jobs, and we had to take them to a training quickly and make them ready quickly, and in less than a year they're becoming experts in these systems. And to be honest, the project's been a leading example from Middle East perspective, and most of them now are leaders in different locations now and leading either projects or becoming an entrepreneurs. Two of them now are leading a company that they built themselves. So Saudi talent's been always to me a fantastic help to turn around or move toward transformation. I'm lucky to have the NIDLP team, who actually great leaders, and I'm lucky to have them. So Saudis are good talent, great talent, passionate, hungry to learn, and able to any challenge. But also when it's come to innovation and entrepreneurship, it's always about the diversity of brains and minds. So that's why I think the connection with international community is important. The bridge that we're doing with Station F in Paris, or the bridge that we're doing with the New Lab, the bridge we are doing with BCA Venture in Singapore, it's all bridges that we connect our local entrepreneurs, which is coming out through the 1K Mile program. I will talk about it. And the international founders that are coming through the challenge-based approach that we are announcing. This community of mixed talents and founders, I think this is the recipe of success, and this is the real value of the hub. It's not the labs, it's not the the VCs is just having that talent of brains coming together, and they make the magic.
It seems sort of like it's gone from a situation where talent was being recruited from overseas to be brought here. And this is an anecdotal perspective, but now it seems sort of like some of the best talent wants to come here because they see the opportunities here. They can see the impact that they're going to make. And, you know, this is the largest construction market in the world. It's one of the fastest growing economies. And we're mid-vision, but we're mid-success right now. It's working. You're ahead of your targets, for example, for NIDLP. Are you seeing that as CEO of NIDLP? Are you seeing talent from abroad say, we want to be part of this?
So this is what I found during our research on innovation attraction. They're telling us that, you know, getting money is good, but what we need is infrastructure to pilot and industrial partners to partner with. And to us, this is what we have. We have a great infrastructure. We have the best integrated infrastructure and digital infrastructure to pilots. You know, we have 9 ports, 5 of them on the Red Sea. We have a lot of industrial cities. We have Jubail, Yumbo, and others. And also we have in our backyard most great companies. We have Aramco, number 1 in energy. We have Ma'aden, number 3 and 4 in mining. We have Aqua Power, number 1 or 2 in renewable energy services. We have SABIC, number 2 or 3 on petrochemical. We have good companies that if you pilot with them, the evaluation of your company will go sky. So having these two value propositions becoming that attractive to these founders to come to Saudi and try out their products and services and get the feedback to their art.
You mentioned a 1K mile program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So it's been said that manufacturing is not attractive to entrepreneurs in Saudi because it requires high capital in the beginning. And I think it was the right thing, but it's just shut down an opportunity for many others. So in NIDLP, we tried it out. We said, let's try opening up a program for manufacturing and logistics for Saudi entrepreneurs. And guess what? We have now more than 6,000 applicants applying for that. They have an idea, they have been stuck in the system, required support. So it has been an attractive sector for them, but we did not know about them. That's a key. So today we are doing the cohort 3. So we best 2 cohorts. We have people who already started manufacturing. We have people who have their companies. They got investment. They got more partners now. So, and the reason I mentioned 1K mile and my previous answer is that now we have Saudi entrepreneurs meeting the international entrepreneurs through this community. So we will be able to see the result of this matchmaking between the international founders and the local entrepreneurs, where we get more innovation, more diverse results, and more challenge to be solved.
Tell us about Dalil.
Yeah.
So Dalil is, to us, it's transparency. So when we looked at our investor profiles, we're talking about mining, manufacturing, energy, and logistics. These are not transactional. These are 25, 30 years commitment, long-term commitment. So we found that these investors look for all the details required. So they will not make their moves just because there is an opportunity in Saudi. They want to know much more than that. And actually, the information exists, but in different platforms. So we thought of how we gather all this information in one platform. So, and we put it in 7 languages. So every investor in different can actually see that. So we have the data of the Saudi data, the regional data, all the strategy we have, all the enablers we have, where to find the best place for you to build your factory or logistic hub, showing all the information about our industrial cities, what they have, what they don't have. We have also the process that would need you to apply for land, manufacturing, licensing, all the detail that's required for you before even you contact us. You can get it on Dalil, and that we have seen it because we had a lot of one-to-one with the investors, and we are trying our best to be investor-centric in our approach. And we found that it's very helpful that people can get that. And speaking of AI, now it's AI enabled, so you don't need actually to navigate. It's you ask the AI. We call it RIMA AI, and there is a reason why it's RIMA AI. Our colleague who used to answer the question, called Rima, she's one of the great talents we have, and she used to work day and night answering the investors. So when we put our AI system to do that, we name it after her. Now she can do more advanced job for us.
What's Rima doing today? Where is Rima?
Tell us she's
no,
still
yeah,
here.
she's now getting the more advanced activity with the investors, taking them to the next level. But the basic questions, the discussion is now Rima AI is doing it for us.
Suliman Almazroua, CEO of NIDLP, really appreciate your time and thank you for all of your insights.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.